There's probably nothing that is of more concern than the data explosion and the amount of storage that all that is going to require. So I want to welcome Mr. Chris Evans from the LangtonBlue.com, from the consulting organization, who's been involved in the storage world for many, many years. What's a little bit of your history, and how does that fit in with today's topic?
Well, thanks, Andy. Yes, very kind of you to mention the fact that I've been in the industry for such a long time. Um, yeah, I've been around, I guess, and especially storage, probably about just over 25 years. And I started in the mainframe area. Very different scenario than with the mainframe technology compared to what we see today in our storage environments. Certainly nowhere near the scale of the environments we have today. You know, we talked in a few gigabytes in those days rather than petabytes and so on. And things have changed through growth. We've got different types of storage. You know, we've had the explosion of NAS. We're now seeing the evolution of object storage. So you know, there's both type and there's both capacity growth. And within that, you know, we've seen a huge amount of complexity as well, feature set, and things that cope with just that performance increase.
So, as you had a recent article in Computer Weekly that talked about scale up storage versus scale out storage, and how you think that we're right on the cusp of a major change, but scale up is not broken yet, is it?
No, it's not broken yet, and you know EMC are making money every year out of it, as are the other big vendors. There's still lots of people for whom the scale-up technology will work perfectly well. I think what we're seeing is an evolution towards technologies that are giving more flexibility for growth and capacity, and where we need it in things like object storage, we'll see that grow, and technologies like that will be fantastic with the scale-out solutions.
So, what are some of the more obvious issues that people either are facing or will face within a couple of years?
So think of a traditional scale up architecture today. It's particularly typically a monolithic box. You put more capacity in it, you try and put faster controllers in there, and basically try and make that one box bigger. And you want that box to be very reliable, so you have to add redundancy and resiliency into that. Maybe you have things like UPS, multiple power supplies, and you're concerned when that box dies. So you know because your data's all on there. And scaling that up becomes more difficult because you have to obviously invest more money to keep that one box alive. As we move to scale out gives us a different model. We can use individual servers on nodes, and we can scale up without worrying whether one of those nodes dies or has a problem. We see some other real benefits with that technology. So the things like upgrades, where we can actually do rolling upgrades across a node set, or if we want to replace some of those components and say, I need a bigger one and take some of the older nodes out, that's much more easy and more flexible to do with a scale out architecture than it is scale up. Scale
So,
up, for instance, you have to replace the whole node head.
so present practice is to combine workloads, have them workloads commingled, so to speak.
There are some environments which are doing that. So there are some environments where we're starting to see what are called hyperconverged solutions, where we're bringing together the hypervisor with the storage. Those are, I guess, startup companies at the moment. From companies like Nutanix are doing that, and they're getting the benefit of the scale out with both the storage and the hypervisor in the same technology. We're seeing other things as well. VMware are looking to do something similar with vSAN, which will allow us to push the storage back into the hypervisor.
As far as scale out is concerned, it seems that block storage is being treated in a more favorable, or there are more solutions of block storage than they are in object storage. Is that correct?
Well, I'm not sure whether people have really quite worked out what they would do with object storage yet, and I think that's early days and people are developing into it. And obviously, to use object effectively, you need to potentially rewrite applications or develop applications that allow you to put data into an object store. You don't have the same sort of native interfaces of block and file in the same way. It tends to be API driven. So I think we'll see object technology coming on very quickly as people adapt their applications to that. And obviously, in the meantime, the block and the file solutions are much more favorable simply because they're easier to access.
How long do you think the transition is going to take until scale out storage becomes predominant?
That's a good question. I guess, if I had a crystal ball and I could predict it all, I could make myself a huge amount of money. But without that crystal ball, I guess probably in the next 5 years, we're probably going to see a majority of that transition. Even the larger vendors are looking at technology where they can say, we know we've got an issue with that box. Let's see what else is on the market and let's start to bring new products to the market. They're already starting that move already. So clearly they see that replacement and refresh cycle over the next 5 years as being pretty key to their future business.
So, Chris, as you look at this marketplace, who do you see emerging as potential winners, or people that understand what's going on, and perhaps a startup that bears further watching?
Okay, so from a pure hardware player, we're seeing some interesting developments from companies like SolidFire, who are a scale-out storage solution. We see some software components very similar to that from EMC with Scale.io. There's also another company called Maxter who are doing a similar thing. And these are all solutions that allow us to do scale-out storage. There are open source solutions, so Ceph is out there. Red Hat has a product called Gluster, which is looking to be in this marketplace. And then from the object side of things, we see Scality and we see CleverSafe, and they're doing some very good scale-out solutions as well. One other area to just bear in mind is we talked about Hyperconverged, and we're seeing Nutanix come into that marketplace. We're seeing SimpliVity in that marketplace as well as startups. And obviously we're seeing VMware themselves pushing their vSAN solution, which is vSphere only at this stage.
If people go back and look at computerweekly.com and search either for Scale Out or for Chris Evans, they'll be able to take a look at that article. And I noted that there were a number of links that you recommended there to help improve their understanding of the technology and some of the opportunity and some of the decisions. Do you have any do not miss types of recommendations to further research here?
Yeah, so I'd always recommend people look at my blog. I try to be as independent as possible, and I'd hope that people would find that useful, and that's at architecting.it. Clearly, there's a lot of articles on Computer Weekly which are worth looking at. And if you look at some of the more interesting vendor events, such as Tech Field Day, you'll see a lot of people there talking about technology and talking about how the technology can be used without specifically being vendor focused. So there's a lot of stuff out there in the market that's worth reading, and it's worth spreading yourself and looking around at lots of different things to get lots of opinion, because clearly, the more opinion you get, the better you can understand that marketplace.
Absolutely. So I understand Tech Field Day is in your future. What other sorts of travel or speaking opportunities are you looking at in the next couple of months?
Yes, you're right. So I'm at a Tech Field Day event in about, I think it's about 4 weeks' time, which is at the end of April, which will be in the west coast of the US. Currently, at the moment, I'm hoping to attend VMworld, so that's I'm just looking to book that at the moment, and that will be the US version. That was very interesting last year, and looking to see what's coming up. At the moment, I guess that's probably currently what I have on the list for traveling. But like all these things come out of the woodwork, and then you find yourself at events quite quickly.
So your blog again sounds like an Italian site, but it's not. It is architecting.it. Is that correct?
Yes, that is right. It's nothing to do with an Italian website. It just looked good at the time, and I thought the suffix of .it would work quite nicely.
Absolutely. And what about on Twitter? Where can people follow you there?
You can find me at Chris M. Evans, or the feed for the blog itself is at architecting.it.
Okay, well, Chris, thanks very much for joining us here today. Thanks to you folks for joining us once again here on SDR News.